Christian Toto is a friend of the show. We love having him on because he is one of the few conservatives talking about the culture and one of the few conservatives talking about the culture who knows something about the culture, which is also great. He's an award-winning journalist, film critic, podcaster. He's the founder of HollywoodInToto.com and the host of the weekly Hollywood in Toto HIT podcast, which offers a right-of-center perspective on entertainment news. Christian, we got you. There you are. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. It's good to see you. I just did yesterday, I was talking about the end of Game of Thrones, the fact that that Daenerys, the Dragon Queen, goes kind of nuts and is obsessed with power. And just talking about that as a right-wing, it's a fantasy to have a show that popular put forward the idea that even in pursuit of the good, you can become so obsessed with power that you destroy people, that you commit atrocities. How do you feel overall about the Game of Thrones story? I mean, what was your feeling watching it? Did you? A lot of people were criticizing it. What was your take on it?
I think I'm more curious about the pop culture phenomena around it. That is one of the last shows where we all get together, we all watch it, we all talk about it on Twitter. We don't get that anymore. You know, there's no longer appointment TV, and we watch things when we want to watch them. But with this show, you couldn't not watch it live because you get in trouble. Someone on Twitter spills the beans. And I love that part of it. And, you know, I'm also intrigued by the fact that I think about 1 million people signed a petition to redo the season because they don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, who are we? We're not the artists. We're the people who watch it. We cannot watch it. We cannot like it. But it's not our job. I mean, you could be dissatisfied for sure. But I just think that we have this weird ownership of things now where if it's so big, well, then I've got to say and you've got to say. And if we don't like it, well, darn it, we're going to do something about that. You know,
it's hilarious. I'm torn between the fact that you're absolutely right. There, you know, the audience is not the artist. The audience is there to be told a story. And of course, all their comments are so political. This idea that women should somehow triumph in the end, this kind of nonsense. But on the other hand, it is kind of beautiful to see an entire country wrapped up in a story, and especially one that's written with so much talent.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the level of excellence has been consistent throughout. Yeah. There weren't bad seasons and good seasons. I think people quibble about this because the weight of the season was so heavy. But yeah, but this is the power of pop culture. Yeah. It's what Andrew Breitbart was telling us for years. It's what people like you tell us all the time. It matters. This is what we talk about. It's what we care about. You know, we don't talk about the leaves in our backyard. We talk about this show, these characters, the arcs, the stories, and we'll be talking about it for years, if not decades. So it does have a consequence, and it's what we all unites us in a way.
Well, so speaking of that, you wrote a piece about the new laughin, the kind of reconstructed laughin. Now, first, before we talk about this, you have to explain to people, the younger people in the audience, what laughin was. I mean, you must have been 6 years old when laughin came out. I really remember it well, but it was a big deal.
I caught the reruns. It was a show in the late 60s, a lot of funny, goofy people, and it was off the wall. It was silly. It was, you know, back then it was a longer gestation for jokes. This was rat-a-tat-tat.
Right.
And it was political at times. It was sort of saucy at times. It had girls in bikinis with little placards and messages painted upon them. It was unlike anything else, and it was a big hit. And it made Goldie Hawn a star, and Lily Tomlin, Ruth Buzzy. Right. And what it wasn't mean, and it wasn't overly one-sided.
Richard Nixon went on it. Richard Nixon went on the show. Yeah.
Famously said "sock it to me."
Yeah, that's.
When they announced the reboot on Netflix, it was just a special reunion. I thought, oh, it's going to be a Trump bashing affair, and that's exactly what it was. And it spirited in that Trump bashing. Listen, I'm not a Trump defender where you can't tell jokes about him.
Right.
The same jokes, the skin, the totalitarianism. I'm exhausted. But more importantly, the speech midway through the reunion special by Kenya Barris. He's the fellow who created Blackish, a very popular show. And he said, comedy is under attack today, and that if the show Laugh-In was around today, all the writers and producers would be in jail. And I'm thinking, what planet is this guy on? He's the ones in comedy, and his fellow liberals want to lock us up. I mean, speaking if not otherwise. I mean, he got it completely backwards. So not only do they use this great classic show to mock Trump, which happens across the landscape, they lied to our faces, and it really kind of annoyed me that they kind of staying the legacy of a show that really did groundbreak in television.
Yeah, no, it is. It really is a shame, and the whole idea when there's one comedian after another, not just attacking Trump, but the vile profanity that comes out of their mouths on network TV. Where Colbert is suggesting that Trump is performing oral sex on Putin and all this. I mean, just the violence. And Trump is like, I mean, he laughs at them, he makes fun of them, he calls them failures, but there ain't no police showing up at their doors. It's all, again, this fantasy of this dictator shutting them out. So you heard, I know because you wrote about it on your site, you heard the interview I did with Michael Loftus. And he was a comedian, just for those people who missed it, he's a comedian who tried to pitch a show, and they told him, no, we don't want to be nice to anybody on the right. One of the questions I get asked most often is, what's my advice to a young person who wants to get into show business? What's your advice to a young person who wants to get into the entertainment business?
Well, I mean, if you're right of center, it's very tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to navigate where you can't be too open about your political views. It's very clear. I've done so many stories in the last maybe year or so where artists are saying that they've been treated differently because they're right of center. So there is a line you have to walk. But I also think if you cultivate an audience, that matters. If you use social media, that matters. If you say, hey, I can go have a YouTube channel and share what I want to share, that's important. And hone your skills, be good. Don't be a hack.
Yeah.
And be very self-critical. Maybe turn to your friends and say, hey, I did a video, it's a parody, is it funny? And if it's not, how can I make it better? So don't go out there with that American Idol season 1 mentality of, I'm the greatest singer in the world. Get better, learn from your mistakes, and then put yourself out there. So I mean, it's not easy. And I'm exhausted that I have to keep interviewing people who say, well, they're treating me differently, because they are. It's happening across the board.
Yeah.
I talked to a colleague of Michael Loftus who said, I used to go on radio shows and they would promote my live act. They'd be happy. They'd be very glad to give me exposure. But when I connected to a live act that was conservative, the doors slammed shut in my face.
Yeah, it's a really good point about the quality of things. This is true both in the conservative world and the Christian world, where people approach you, they approach me, and they say, oh, my brother, you and I are as one in our beliefs, therefore you should promote my work. And you look at the work and it's tripe, it's bad, or it's propaganda, or it's pious nonsense. And you say, like, hey, dude, this is a profession. You got to be good at it in order to do it. I wouldn't have a surgeon operate on me because he happened to vote the same way I did, and it's the same way with the arts. One last question, because this is the other big question I get, and I'm kind of hitting you up for information because I want to know how to better answer these questions. I talk to people with money, and they all want to know what they should do with their money. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that if you don't know about Hollywood, you can waste a lot of money. You go to some guy who has some piece of work that he's kept in his trunk because nobody wanted it. And he says, well, you could finance this, and you're throwing your money away. What do you think people with money should do to help transform the culture?
Well, I think they need to team up with people who have a better sense of the arts and not just going to throw the money around. Be judicious in where you spend the money. I also think they should maybe support artists who are on the rise, who are maybe, you mentioned before that the art isn't very good. Maybe they're getting better, but they're not there yet. So maybe look for people who have kind of that spark of talent. And also think about, wouldn't it be great to have a women's magazine like a Cosmo, pro-life,
oh, man.
that didn't bash GOP representatives on every issue, that was actually right-leaning? I mean, just think what you could do with that, how that would influence people. And it would be cool, and it would be hip, and it would be stylish, but it would be gently right of center.
Yeah.
And it would be an antidote to all these women's magazines, which are telling us that, that there's no one on the right worth a darn.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think there's different ways to approach the culture. And, go on a crowdfunding platform, look at all the different projects, watch the trailers. If there's one that's really good, they've only got like maybe 20,000 in the till, maybe throw that person a check, because maybe that person really needs it. But you're asking good, tough questions. There are no good answers. I'm just kind of scrambling, but I do think that people on the right with cash, which is not me, need to do that. All I can do is give my website as a platform for artists who are hopefully on the rise.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to do that always. But I think the people who have the finances need to be creative and smart and think about the culture. It matters. It matters so much.
I know, yeah. And I also, I mean, one thing that I would like to see more of too are awards and grants for artists of all, at all levels, because, then it carries some prestige. It's not just here's some dope kid, it's also, oh, you won the prestigious such and such grant or the such and such award. It's a whole infrastructure we need. Hey, I got to say goodbye, Christian. It's really good to see you. Christian Toto, go on to HollywoodInToto.com so you can find out about culture without getting a little socialism with your arts. Thanks a lot, Christian. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Let me end.